So the Ohio Senate just passed Ohio SB 56 out of the State House and sent it to the governor's desk to sign. So what is SB 56? First of all, we have to realize that Ohio has a medical cannabis program and an adult use recreational cannabis program. Those things are legal. We voted those things into law over the last 6 years. So we've had medical program for 6 years, and we've had an adult use recreational cannabis program legal in the state of Ohio for a year. Now, the way we passed the adult use recreational program was through a citizens initiated statute, which essentially we put it on the ballot. Folks, 2.7 million Ohioans, 57% of the voters went out and said, we want to regulate cannabis like alcohol. Essentially, we can go to the bar and drink. Now in Ohio, they have doors so you can walk around with beer in downtown. You can consume in your own residence. You can grow cannabis just like you can have microbreweries. So there's a lot of similarities, right? Even though we know cannabis and alcohol are very different in terms of their effects and their healthcare outcomes, right? But the marketing, the play, it got it on the ballot. We got people to go vote, and we voted for it. 2.7 million people. So we've had adult use, which again, we've had a tax structure that 36% of the tax money is supposed to go to a social equity fund, a jobs fund, and a community support fund. And that community support could go towards education, addiction services, workforce development, anything that those cities that have dispensaries decide they want to do with that money. Issue 2 also was supposed to help people with criminal backgrounds or criminal records with minor cannabis offenses to get those offenses expunged so they can get good jobs, get good housing, qualify for grants, loans, education, stuff like that. All of this stuff was baked into the bill, into the law of issue 2. We also had craft grow and tier 3 grow for people that wanted to be smaller growers, home growers. They could sell their products to the dispensary. The dispensary would then sell their products. There are still no tier 3, still no craft grow licenses, and we still don't have delivery. Also, to get a dispensary or to get a cultivation license, there was limited licenses, and so it all started with the medical program where you had to have upwards of $20,000 to $70,000 even to apply for the license, which was non-refundable. And then you had to have cash to show that you could fund you had to fund the facilities, security, all the stuff. So the average person could not get involved in this industry. All the while, it's been illegal for the last 60 plus years, right? So they implemented issue 2 as a citizens initiated statute. For the last year, we've had access to 21 and up being able to go to the dispensaries and get cannabis. I've had access the last 6 years legally because I've had a medical card and I was recommended cannabis for my medical issues. The medical companies were the first ones to get access to the licenses for adult use and recreational as well. Also, we only have a handful of vertically integrated companies that are black owned. I don't even think there's a handful. There's like one or two vertically integrated black owned cannabis companies in the entire state. One of the main ones actually got sued and they settled, lost to Trulieve, which is a multi state operator. That's a whole nother story. And so essentially, what the politicians have been doing, the Ohio GOP, which is the Republican politicians, since issue 2 passed as an initiated statute, that meant that the politicians could come in and change it if they wanted to. And so for the last year, they've been working on these bills to pass out of the state house to alter and basically gut a lot of the policies and things that we had voted for in issue 2 because it's a citizens initiated statute. Now, if it was a constitutional amendment, they couldn't go in and change it. But since it was a citizens initiated statute, they have come in and basically said, we are going to do this because we can. Not because, 57% of our constituents say they want cannabis to be run this way. We're going to change it because we can. And so now we have SB 56. SB 56, how they are passing it right now to the governor, essentially would wipe out the social equity fund, right? So that money was supposed to go to helping communities, black and brown folks, poor people, working class folks that were harmed most by the war on drugs, that live in the state of Ohio, that were impacted by the incarceration system, that lost all types of opportunities because of a plant and getting incarcerated in the system. They no longer have access to this money, these resources, these funds to help them prop up their cannabis businesses, to help them try to restore their lives, help our communities rebuild. So that's 36. They have over $80 million in that fund right now. I live in Columbus, Ohio. Columbus, Ohio has like 14 plus dispensaries. Franklin County, we have the largest black population, I believe, in the state of Ohio. SB 56 would also criminalize people that are transporting cannabis throughout the state or across borders that is not in its original package. So we have home grow. You can grow up to 12 plants. Let's say you home grow your own flower, or your friend home grows flower, and you go over and they gift you some, they donate you some, and you decide to transport that flower back to your home, and you get pulled over because you didn't turn on the turn signal, or your back tail light is out, you're speeding, and you get pulled over. And now let's say you smoked while you were at that friend's house, so you smell like weed. So now probable cause is legal for the police officer to pull you over. I smell weed. Do you have weed on your car? Are you impaired? Search. Get out the car. Now we're going to search your car. Oh, look at this. It's a jar of weed. It's not in an original container because this container is not coming from a dispensary. There's no labeling on it. Where'd you get it from? And so now, who is that going to impact? Is that going to impact rich people in the suburbs? No. That's going to impact black poor people, black and brown poor people that live in urban inner cities, who oftentimes don't have cars or may have to use public transportation. What if you're in an Uber or a Lyft and your cannabis falls out of your pocket? Like, there's so many different ways to trip people up and create more barriers. And even if you don't get incarcerated, there may be fines, right? Those fines oftentimes lead to other issues, right? Other barriers. Also in SB 56, it allows employers to drug test, fire you if you fail a drug test, and then not have to give you benefits after they fired you. SB 56 also allows landlords to discriminate against their tenants and not allow them to consume cannabis in there. Obviously, they own the spot, but you can't smoke or vape in these places. So then guess what? If you are renting an apartment and you can't smoke in your apartment, you can't grow weed in your apartment, so you decide to go smoke in your car. Well, now you can't smoke in the car because that's illegal. And having cannabis in your car outside the package is illegal. So now you're a criminal. Also, if you go up to Michigan to get weed because it's a little bit cheaper and I think better. Some people think it's better. Some people actually live closer to Michigan and Ohio to a Michigan dispensary than they do an Ohio dispensary. So it's economically viable and makes more sense for them to go to Michigan to get their cannabis. But guess what? If you go to Michigan, get your cannabis, and bring it back across the border, criminal. And guess what? We're going to put a lot of money into our state highway patrol. So we're going to have them staked there. So as soon as you cross the border, whoop, 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 whoop. And let me tell you, I went up to Michigan a couple times. And you go to Michigan dispensaries, the majority of the license plates are Ohio. SB 56 would also cap dispensaries at 400 dispensaries. We're currently at 186. We have 11.8 million people in the state. So yeah. SB 56 would also basically kill the hemp industry. It would gut all the hemp things. Drinks would be able to go until the federal ban goes into law next year. And then there's a lot more, but finally on this story time, they will stop public consumption. We already don't have cannabis lounges, so there's no place for you to consume unless you own a home. And so they will end public consumption, and so then you essentially will be criminalized for walking around consuming cannabis, even if you have edibles. If you have edibles and they are outside of their baggies as well, that's criminal activity. So make sure you call Governor Mike DeWine, email him, contact him, and let him know to veto SB 56 and any other bills that you don't like. You have to stay active at the state level.